Okay, cool. I gotta take this. Alright, cool. Right. Oh. There we go. Oh, my goodness. You could have warned me first. I've just started this. It barely's gone on for like a minute and 30 seconds. How do I fucking warn you? Like, how do I warn you about something that literally barely starts? I was gonna do my own Lamau. Well, too late. I guess I'll have to do that later when I do some errands or something later. Which I definitely will, but just waking up first and all that stuff. There's like some fun shit that I've been kind of like looking at, and I'm like, oh boy, today is definitely a good day for news. Like, just legitimately. I don't know if you heard about it, but the Jurgevich Prozgen, or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, like, he fucking got, he's murked, dude. He got, like, straight obliterated and got killed by Putin. Like, straight up, there was a plane that was departing and shit, and, of course, like, you know, the motherfucker, you know, like, straight up, like, after leaving Moscow, got shot down. Which, you know, I'm not really that surprised, to be honest. The Russian Merc Warlord got airplane. Yeah, his plane got shot down. Well, the thing is, from my understanding, there's, like, mixed results, but I think it's confirmed at this point. Like, initially I heard there was, like, mixed results because people weren't actually sure if he was on the flight or not, because supposedly there was, like, multiple, or at least 2 different flights that supposedly had him on it, but I'm pretty sure this one did. Because apparently there was, like, another plane that supposedly had him as a passenger that landed, but if that's the case, you know, then it's likely that, you know, it's a double or something like that. Because if it was, then we probably would have at least seen, like, hey, I'm still alive, and, you know, video or something. Russian AAA that did it. I mean, what the fuck do you think could have been? Like, anti-aircraft fire? Like, maybe the maintenance on the aircraft was purposely botched so that, you know, parts would probably fly off the plane and thus crash. I mean, it's really one of the only 2 options. Either it got shot down by anti-aircraft fire, or, like, it was purposely sabotaged, so once after it took off, it would crash. So, I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where, like, it's pretty obvious that it was sabotaged to some extent. I mean, it's just too fucking coincidental, you know what I mean? And Putin's been known to have people just mysteriously disappear. Just out of nowhere, just like, oh, yeah, don't exist no more. Putin's one cool motherfucker. Yeah, dude, seriously, he really is. He's seriously a guy I would actually be genuinely scared of if I had to meet him face to face. Like, I would actually genuinely be kind of fearful of him. Like, he's a motherfucker who will, like, make sure that you die quiet, cold, and alone somewhere in, like, the Siberian wilderness, and he'll be there personally to watch you, like, freeze to death. Like, I mean, he's a motherfucker who will just, like, be that. So it's like, hell no. I wouldn't want to touch him unless I had, like, a fucking nuclear Davy Crockett weapon. Like, honestly, like, the only way you would have me deal with him is, like, get me miles away from him, give me a David Crockett, you know, recoilless nuclear, like, launcher, and then, like, you know, let me yeet that motherfucker way over, you know, to Putin's destination, you know, where he happens to be, and then I'll just start running, you know, to a Jeep and just start busting my ass out of there. Because supposedly David Crockett, at least, if you were to shoot that thing, at least at its max range, you technically would be in range of its destruction. So you had to, like, get a Jeep and drive as fast as you can away from it in order to, like, get out of the blast zone. So, at the very least, I'll have to make sure I have a vehicle, you know, to make sure I can just drive the fuck away as quick as possible, but, you know, it's what needs to be done. And yes, so David Crockett, you know, nothing too big. I mean, you don't need it to be huge. You don't need mass destruction, just enough destruction to make sure that every atomic particle of Putin himself is vaporized. All those handheld nuke launchers were defective. They definitely, well, I'm sure they are now. Why they never were fully commissioned. Well, the thing is, the reason why they never were commissioned is because of what I was talking about. They were just too fucking dangerous. Like, I mean, think about it. Like a frontline recoilless, like, nuclear artillery launcher, you know, that launches, like, at maximum, like, 3 to 4 miles of range, and, like, that's within, you know, in the range of the weapon's, like, you know, destructive capabilities, you're within range of. Like, it, like, the actual, like, you know, blast radius is within the range of it being shot from. So it's, like, basically, it's, like, meant to be, it was, the idea and the whole premise was, from my understanding, meant to be, like, a retreat weapon, like a tactic, like, if you were having to fall back because of, like, some blitzkrieg bum rush that's happening to you from the Russian army or whatever. The idea was you would launch a few of those, and then you will just hightail it as you're retreating, and every now and then, you know, some of these David Crockett's will be set up so they'll launch and then join you as you leave. And the idea is that you'll make a path of radiation and destructive wasteland and shit as, you know, the soldiers try to advance that, you know, at the very least they're all going to get radiation sickness, and there's going to be a lot of destroyed equipment, and a lot of destroyed infrastructure and all sorts of other shit. So, I mean, the whole idea was basically to be like a scorched earth tactic as you retreated. Which, of course, like, fuck, we never commissioned it anyway, so it's like, whether it was, like, defective, or for that reason, which I think is the real reason, or for whatever reason, I'm glad they don't have them. But either way, if I could get my hands on one just to nuke Putin with, then I'd be okay with that. And honestly, that just kind of shows that Brogdon, that fucking retarded fuck, should have not stopped that coup. Because that shit was stupid. Like, he did a coup for like half a day, was like 100 miles out from Moscow, then it's like, we can work a deal out. Yeah, the deal is you're gonna be killed. Like, I mean, dude, don't ever fucking, like, once you pull a trigger like that, you do not fucking let go of that trigger. Because Putin will see that as an opportunity to whack you. So, it's just like, you should have never stopped with that. Even if it was gonna fail, like, I honestly, he probably would have just failed on that shit. Like, he should have just either, like, went all the way and stormed that Kremlin, or fucking made the deal and stayed in Africa. And honestly, even then, he would have been killed by Putin's agents in Africa anyway. In fact, honestly, it would have been a little bit more easy to hide, if you think about it. Like, because then it could just be ruled off as, like, some, you know, like a militant warlord faction fighting, you know, that Wagner's fighting or some shit, like ISIS or whatever the fuck. Like, some other militant faction, you know, ambushed his, you know, convoy or something and he got killed. You know, so it's like, it's one of those things where it could have easily just been quiet, but yes, you're right, he wanted to make a point. Because Putin is a guy that doesn't just do certain things quietly. This was to make an example out of him. Oh, absolutely. This was, like, not just an example to the rest of Wagner and to, like, anyone else in the Russian military, but also to, the, like, to any other PSC group or any other business interest. But the thing is, like, this is like any, I mean, this is not necessarily the first time he's made an example out of some motherfuckers. But this is definitely the one where I think is pretty brazen. Which arguably means he's either slipping up and doesn't give a fuck anymore, or, like, he is purposely just being brutish about it now. Which I think it could be both. I mean, brutish, because that's just who he is, and also just not giving a fuck anymore, because, well, he's old and, like, slowly but surely, you know, fucking, you know, like, wasting away. Try to do electronic remote trigger so I wouldn't have to be up close to it. Basically, the Fat Man from Fall Guys to David Crockett fully realized. Oh, the Fat Man? Oh, yeah. A dude defied him openly. He had to do this. Well, yeah, basically. Especially if you're, you know, considered a strongman and, like, this alpha guy or some shit. You know, that's meant to protect the white race or whatever the fuck. Like, I mean, it's meant to, like, push the point of, like, yeah, don't fuck with me. I'm not to be made of a joke, basically. Even though he's doing that himself. That's the thing about a lot of these strongman dictators. Usually, like, they do these things to be like, I'm not a joke, bitch. But it's like, no, you kind of are. Like, this just, like, you continue to prove so. You know, by doing things like this. I mean, he is pretty much, like, in a way, he knows his, like, legacy set globally, you know, depending on, you know, where people fall politically and shit. Like, if you're on the right, chances are you're already going to sympathize and like him. If, you know, on his center or liberal or, like, left in any metric, not going to like him, obviously. So he don't give a fuck at this rate. Like, he's kind of like, you know, Trump in that sense. Just a lot more quiet, cold, and calculative. I wonder what happened to this outfit. Probably a Putin simp installed. Maybe. Probably. I mean, at least one who's going to be a little bit more willing to cooperate and play ball and not do a coup. But that PMC will be on decline now. Oh, honestly, yeah. I mean, Wagner, like, just got hit bad with this shit. And good. I mean, fuck. I don't give a fuck one way or another. I'm glad, you know, they got killed. Fuck them. Like, you know, so what? Like, you know, I ain't gonna give a shit about that, but, I mean, you know, it really is definitely going to disenfranchise a lot of their members who are already a part of that group now. Whether in Africa or in Ukraine and shit like that. It's gonna fall apart. Yeah, and if anything, they factionalize. Like, you know, if the head of that group, you know, dies, usually a bunch of other people in the higher-ups or in different little, like, battalions that are within that PMC usually make their own groups and their own PMC factions. So, yeah. Honestly, we're going to see that. Like, I guarantee we're going to see, like, a new, like, Wagner adjacent, or at least, you know, like, a branched off from Wagner type of, like, PMC group that might emerge out of Africa or something like that. Or at least maybe, like, one in Ukraine, maybe. Like, I mean, you know, there's going to be, like, yeah, some splintering off of that, for sure. Now there are a dozen or so splinters. I don't know about, like, a dozen or more, but at least, you know, that are more directed for Blackwater. But, yeah, there's... Same thing there. Definitely a lot of splinter groups. In fact, if anything, honestly, Blackwater is that too. Like, they splintered themselves in the sense of, like, you know, rebranding. Like, because they are, I think from what I understand, they're not technically Blackwater anymore. That's just what everyone knows them as, but, like, they've kind of, like, changed the name because their original name was obviously, like, you know, a little too evil. You know what I mean? It's like how a lot of these companies will do, like, rebrands and shit, like, you know, Facebook with Meta or Twitter with X or whatever the fuck, you know. It's like at a certain point, because of a certain, you know, perception of the name brand, like, it, you know, they do a change to the name, even though it's still the same. So I guarantee you, like, Blackwater itself is probably, like, just basically, at least in some attempt, you know, along with some of the splintering, you know, try to rebrand itself to look different, basically, even though it's just the same thing. All ran by far-right Christo-fascist types, too, by the way. Like, you know, like a lot of these PMC groups, whether American or Russian, they're, like, more often than not, far-right, white nationalist / like, Christo-fascist types. Like, just straight up. Like, it's very rare to find anyone else, like, in those type of groups that isn't that shit. Like, seriously. I mean, you might find, like, a rare dude who's like, yeah, I was in, like, SEAL something, I got an injury, and I couldn't, like, you know, fight in the military anymore, got discharged, but still want to fight, still capable, so join this, blah, blah, blah. Like, he'll get people like that, but honestly, I'd argue they're way more fucking rare than political ideologues. And even then, those type of people also tend to be political ideologues, too. So, like, at this point, like, I mean, it's basically just, like, a lot of these PMCs are fundamentally based off of, like, ideological narratives, basically. No Soldiers of Fortune anymore, just Soldiers of Ideology. I'd argue there never really was truly Soldiers of Fortune. I mean, I guess in the sense that, like, yeah, if you fought and won a war or something like that, you came back home, you know, with a few extra riches, you know, to help your family farm or some shit like that, you know, but, I mean, that But like the thing is, like those fortunes could easily be like and stolen from you too. Medieval and ancient times. Well, yeah, like there was mercenaries, back then. And in fact, like plenty of mercenaries and like exiles and vagabonds and stuff like that that would team up with literally anybody that would give them a price. Where mercenaries were more accepted. Well, it's not that they were just more accepted. It was just commonplace. It was just like a genuine, like very commonplace thing. Though a lot of different kingdoms and city-states, shit like that, didn't exactly look fondly on them entirely. I wouldn't necessarily say they were accepted. It was just so common that, hey, if you're running low on manpower, fuck it, hire some mercs. It's one of those situations where it's like, some, even if there is somewhat of animosity towards it, because it's like there's no sense of loyalty to the Lord or to the Baron or whatever the fuck. Since there's no sense of loyalty to that, they're not exactly looked up on, as much. But nonetheless, they still were taken advantage of in that sense. Like, as much as they're like, we don't really like you, you're not loyal to us. Like, well, we'll give you enough money. You'll be loyal then. But once the war was over, then the likelihood of those same mercs, being the enemy then the next war is probably likely, depending on, if that city or state or whatever the fuck is bankrupted or not. Because obviously paying, some levies of, like line infantry or peasant folk and shit like that versus hiring mercs is a lot cheaper. And, granted, though, you have to invest in training and shit, so it's a give or take, basically. Trade merc lives in war and soldiers' lives. I mean, maybe. I mean, some mercenaries were, more or less actually like, mercenaries for hire who were a part of other states. Like like the Swiss Guard, for example. Like, a lot of these mercenaries were soldiers and are soldiers and shit. Like, but a lot of them were, like I said from earlier, most of them generally would be, usually, like soldiers who were, like, exiled from their, previous kingdoms or, or stuff like that. Like, maybe potentially, a criminal or, like, a rebel, one faction, but is able to, hire their arm or their sword, basically, in a sense of, maybe fighting for another kingdom or some shit, along with another mercenary band. I mean, these things are certainly commonplace, but at the same time, there was a lot of soldiers who, like, retired, so to speak, kind of like I, was mentioned from what happens sometimes today, where you'll get soldiers who still kind of want to fight, even though they're not technically allowed to, but, they join a mercenary band, and that's how they kind of, get away with fighting still. Just have less sympathy for mercs than I do for National Guard or active national military forces. I mean, yeah, I don't really have much care for mercenaries because really, like any other businessman, they're going to care about money first. They don't give a fuck about your protection or anything like that as long as you give them enough money to make it worth their while. That's basically what merc is. Like, so, and granted, especially if, like, they're honest in the trade, because there was plenty of mercenaries that were, but there was a lot of them that were, like, pirates, basically, and bandits. In fact, mercenary, in fact, honestly, especially in the days of piracy, that was a very big thing. Like, a lot of different pirate factions, that were going after, like, the French, Spanish, and other vessels and shit. Sometimes they would be a little bit more, focused on maybe, like, the Spanish, vessels, or, like, or French vessels and shit like that. Or like the UK vessels, so if they would focus more on, one kingdom, so there will be like diplomats, or at least, some sort of person to come in and be like, talking to the leaders of, some of these pirate, clans and shit, be like, hey, you don't really raid our boats, but we're at war with the Spaniards right now, and you raid their boats a lot. We've seen that sometimes. If we give you a cut, and we pay you at least, hands down, right now, we'll let you have a cut for any boat that you raid and capture and sink and shit like that. We'll let you have whatever cut, that you get out of that, negotiate that cut, whatever the fuck, and, and then those privateers / pirates will be able to, still do what they're doing, but basically at least do so under the protection of their specific banner. Like, so they could basically do highway robbery and banditry or piracy with, actual legal state protection, basically. And honestly, in a lot of ways, that's basically in some part what fucking mercenaries are. Like, in a way, able to do more, criminal shit, basically, while doing official acts for the state. While not actually being a part of the state because you're not holding their banner. You're just hired by them. It's a little loophole, and honestly, in a way, that's how, like, a lot of wars, in some ways, have, in a weird way, have been kind of avoided. Just hire some mercenaries and shit, or privateers, and because they're not waving your fucking nation's banner and shit, or your empire's banner, it makes it a little easier to have plausible deniability. Be like, it wasn't us, it's those pirates. Maybe you should get a grip on that. Like, I mean, so they can at least have some, deniability. Was a private security firm, but a PMC that doesn't go into war zones. Pinkertons. I mean, what do you think they are? Same thing, just domestic. I mean, also there's like the Arizona Rangers, the Texas Rangers, like legitimately, like a lot of these different, like, some of them initially started as like private groups, eventually became like official parts of the state, like the Texas and Arizona Rangers. Like, funny enough, at least for the Arizona Rangers, like, obviously for Fallout New Vegas, a lot of the Desert Rangers in that game and the NCR Rangers are directly and heavily inspired by the Arizona Rangers. Which, actually, the Arizona Rangers specifically got some dark history, though. They were known to, do a lot of labor busting and basically act like Pinkertons and basically act like their own form of the law, and basically be able to kind of get away with doing whatever realistically the fuck they wanted, under the, Arizona state. Like, so honestly, I mean, historically, the real Arizona Rangers are not exactly the greatest batch of dudes. Especially when it comes to labor history. They're kind of fucked up. It's implied that not all the Arizona Rangers join the NCR. I don't think it's applied. I think it's mentioned. Like, if you go to that, like, little border town with that gigantic statue and shit, it's applied to the ones that did join the Free Arizona from Legion. Well, it's not implied. That's a part of the story. Like, the Arizona Rangers were, fighting off the Legion, and the NCR was too. So they joined efforts, and eventually, at least a lot of the Rangers who were very sympathetic to the NCR cause thought it would be in the best interest to essentially invoke with them. Yeah, not everyone did, but, but most of them saw it in the best interest, to do so. And I think the ones that didn't have animosity about it. They just kind of went their own separate ways. I think it's implied that the ones who didn't, just, probably just, like, moved on or did some other shit, or, potentially maybe even joined the Legion, but that's probably far less likely. So it's, like, it's more implied that they, the ones who didn't just decided to kind of, like, retire or move on. But the ones who did just genuinely saw it as a best interest, to, in a way, kind of keep the Arizona Rangers from, to continue to go on. As the Mojave Brotherhood becomes allies of the NCR. I mean, isn't the NCR kind of sympathetic with them? Or at least, pretty neutral with them? I mean, I haven't played New Vegas in a long time, so I don't remember too much about, like, their relations. I can't destroy the side of them that aren't totally fascist like the West Coast. Well, I mean, they're, like, I'm pretty sure the ones in the Mojave are just basically, more or less just kind of like, literally just kind of like a ragtag family of just trying to hide, basically. They had a war with each other. Oh, yeah, that's right. No, okay, you're right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, I think that's why they're hiding in those bunkers in the first place, because, they kind of had a war with each other for a while. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because wasn't it, like, Helios 1 and shit like that? Brotherhood destroyed the NCR's gold reserves. And, yeah, and also wasn't, like, the Brotherhood at Helios 1 and when NCR showed up. And the NCR wanted Helios 1 to try to get power, not just to Vegas, but to, like, you know, to help power up, you know, California too and shit. Like, now that I remember, there was actual, like, reasons why there was, like, a war that happened. Helios 1 was the original position. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's starting to come back to me now. Like I said, it's been a while since I played it, but, you know, now that you reminded me, now it's coming back. I mean, well, if Brotherhood wanted the satellite laser, yeah, because you could use Helios 1 to either be used as a weapon, or you can use it as, you know, a power source, you know, for, like, you know, free energy. Wants the power to supplement the dam. Yeah. Which, honestly, I would argue that their use for the solar panels and shit like that, for the solar fields, like, I would argue that their use for it is obviously way better than the Brotherhood's. Having a Brotherhood space laser instead of a Chinese or Jewish space laser, you know, sounds just as worse. Like, I mean, that sounds horrible. The Chinese-Jewish Brotherhood of Steel space laser, dude. My lord. So theories that the plant could have powered both the NCR and the Brotherhood goals. Well, honestly, that makes sense. I mean, it's a big solar farm. And also, it's in the Mojave. It's a desert. Like, there's not a lot of cloud cover, not a lot. And also, you know, post-apocalyptic. So you imagine, like, the usual traditional weather that happens there is, you know, going to be now atypical from what we usually know it as. So it's probably going to be that. So, I mean, like, I imagine that there's just going to be, like, you know, constant sun. So as long as you know, like, make sure that those rays, or at least the panels, are, you know, falling into sun and shit, they'll easily be able to absorb all that shit. Yeah, for definitely both, I'd argue, yeah. What?
What are you talking about? It's deserts. Yeah, it's sunny and hot.
Well, I'm talking about Fallout New Vegas, the video game. Like, because there's a solar field called Helios 1, and, like, the new California Republic in the game took it over because the Brotherhood of Steel, which is another faction in the game, initially had it at first, and they were trying to power it up to use it for, like, a space laser weapon, and NCR wanted to help supplement Hoover Dam, which they also had control over because it helped power a lot of the new California Republic, and also New Vegas, and also pretty much the entire Mojave and shit. There's, like, a lot of lore to it.
That was before video, but I did it like a board game that I called the, well, not a board, you know, so you have the map and you move.
Well, yeah.
It's called The Great World War. If history was different, and you just have the continent, you know, North America.
Oh, you've told me about that, yeah.
Yeah, you have, like, Mexico, California, Oregon, Indian territories, Texas, Confederate States, United States.
I feel like
Canada.
Man, like, a balkanized U.S. just sounds like a fucking nightmare. But also, I feel like Texas and the Confederate States will just be involved into one. Like, all right, you Texas, come over here. Come on, get it. A lot of people blame Mr. Fantastic for why the power output was so low. The idiot, the NCR, had to fix it. Oh, well, dude, I'm pretty sure that dude was, like, kind of like a psychotic drug head. Like, I'm pretty sure.
There's 6 flags over Texas. You know what flags they were?
It's this...
Texas used to be 6 different countries.
Well, the 6... Okay, well, the 6 flags are meant to be for, like, the whole 6 Flags, like, you know, amusement park thing.
Countries Texas used to be a part of.
I don't think the 6 Flags in that was...
Yeah, it is.
Well, like, you realize there's, like, more than one 6 Flags. There's, like, a 6 Flags in Belgium. There's one in... Like, I think they're all... Like, there's flags in...
like Disneyland. It started in California, and they have them all over the world, but 6 Flags started in Texas.
Well,
Okay, what 6 countries did Texas used to be part of?
Well, I know there's Mexico, there's Spain, there's the U.S., there's the Confederacy, there's 4 already. Texas itself.
5.
And France.
Got it.
Yeah, because Louisiana Purchase and shit. I mean, you know, like, there really ain't any other countries I can really think of, unless you technically consider First Nations, I guess, but that's not, I guess, technically an official state, so.
Well, people miss Texas.
I guess technically, depending on how you perceive it, I suppose you could say maybe 7, but that's kind of more of a technicality, I guess. I have a Fallout Bible and reference the resurrection of the Confederate States in the Deep South post-war. You know what? There should be like a Fallout based out there. And there should be one in PMW. Like, they got one in, they have like 2 on the East Coast. They got Boston and then DC. And then they got like 2, well, like kind of 3 that's on the West Coast. You got like the Boneyard, which is basically LA. So you got like California essentially, and then the Mojave with Nevada and Arizona. A little bit. Like, so it's just like, there's like a few places in the U.S. that can easily, like, explore, a little bit here.
Okay.
Oh, he's just being a dork.
Are you doing your laundry? Well, it looks like it.
One little tweet. Actually, this is last tweet, so I need to re-up on tweets.
Well, we can always stuff you in the washing machine if you want.
Give him a little tumble.
How'd that be the dryer?
Come here, buddy.
Oh, you know where there's a leaf rake? We used to have a couple of them, now I can't find any of them.
If they're not like either or around the corner over there or like in the backyard somewhere,
Ones that
I thought it was somewhere around. I saw it the other day. It should be like either up front over there or somewhere in the backyard, maybe.
Look for up front, not the immediate back.
It might be backyard because
I would guess so.
Maybe because I remember like a couple months back, like I kind of cut down the grass over there and used it back there, so it might still be back there. It might be in the backyard. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I'm kind of contemplating how to get all that leaves and shit off the roof.
Well, I could fucking do it. Also, kind of want to see China or Europe. Also, radioactive death claw gators.
I gotta get more than
yeah, like death gators, dude. I mean, I definitely would be, like, I think it would be really cool. I mean, especially when it comes to, like, maybe Europe, too, because, I mean, like, at least in Fallout, it was affected there as well. So it'd be kind of interesting to see, like, a Fallout, like, London or something.
Have fun and climb up on the roof and blow all the leaves off.
Ain't that big of a deal. I can get up there.
Unless you use the cord, no,
Used to make Canon Fallout 4, but their origin was changed. Still
have a cord for is a blower.
Still cool to see gator claws. Well, yeah. I mean, because they don't look, strangely enough at least, don't look different from death claws, which I kind of find a little odd. But they still definitely look really fucking cool, though. Middle East has been nuked like 20 years before the bombs. Well, if it's only a 20-year difference, then, I mean, I really feel like the Middle East probably wouldn't be that much different in the Fallout world then. They just would have, like, a little early start, so they would have, like, maybe a little bit of an edge. The people there might have a slight edge just on the virtue that they're able to, like, there's at least, like, a generation of people that, have, like, suffered under that, versus, like, everybody else at that point. When you invade the Middle East for oil. Oh, wow, I wonder what that sounds like. Oh, that sounds familiar. Would Middle East oil right out, the EU dissolve? Why do I feel like that sounds, like, eerily familiar to something that may or may not happen here? U.S. invaded the Middle East for oil and other natural resources. Potential, of all those resources running out. Thus, U.S. loses the reason to be there. Thus, becomes more unstable and potentially dissolves. I mean, into a bickering nation states that quickly went into war with each other. Well, I mean, yeah, I can imagine. That's why it would be kind of cool to see, like, at least, like, Fallout, world in, somewhere in Europe. I don't even really care if they, like, have it, like, all in English or whatever the fuck, as long as they just, like, set it up out there. I mean, it's like, cause to me it would be, just really cool to kind of see, like, frankly, just like a whole different, set of guns, basically different sets of weapons, different environment, different creatures, obviously totally different, plot and storyline stuff. Like, just, it would be kind of like a really cool, like, fresh take to the whole Fallout franchise. Because, I mean, all in all, like, the entire, like, Fallout worlds, at least, it's, how Bethesda has it right now, is basically just all set in the fucking US. It's like, I mean, fuck, even set up in Canada, even though in the Fallout world is still technically the United States at that point, because the US annexed Canada. But set one out in, like, Vancouver, BC or some shit. I don't fucking know. Like, I mean, like, branch it off a little bit. Plus, it will help, like, expand, like, an international, player base, too. Like, if you set it up in, like, like, on some, like, Fallout Paris or some shit, bruh, like, dude, there would be a shitload of people that would be, like, they'll be like, oh my gosh, our country and our town is, mentioned now, cool, and they would buy it just to see if it's, just kind of see if they could kind of, like, see their city, but all Falloutified. That'd actually be pretty cool. Was neutral through the 21st century and debated that they never got nuked because they weren't on China or America's side. So for all we know, Soviet Union is still kicking 200 years later. Well, if that's the case, then wouldn't there be, like, potential, like, maybe expeditions or, like, or something like that? I mean, at least, Well, at least for the U.S. side, maybe not, just because it's basically across the fucking world from Russia, outside of Alaska. But, like, 200 years later, you would think that, at that point, they would probably try to, like, expand and, like, kind of rebuild. And that includes, like, Alaska, Canada a little bit, stuff like that. It's referenced by Fallout 3 that Russia is in better shape than most of the world by a Russian immigrant, but he is drunk and untruthful. Well, an untruthful drunk, but a Russian immigrant? In Fallout, either that guy's spinning some stories and he's not actually a Russian immigrant, but maybe he is a Russian in background. But, like, I mean, he could just be telling fairy tales. But if it's true, though, that implies that that motherfucker came from Russia and migrated and, like, hiked and walked, and, like, from, like, Alaska for Canada, for, like, the U.S., all the way to the east fucking coast. Like, I mean, like, bruh. Russians be built different, bro. Like, damn. He says he made the trip and has the Russian accent. On a boat from Europe. Oh, so he came from Europe. So he didn't, like, trek from east to west, or from west to east. He, came from the boat, from the Atlantic. That actually would make more sense. And honestly, I feel like that's why I kind of want, Fallout in Europe. Because if the idea is, like, the Soviet Union is actually, like, neutral and hasn't been fucked, by the nukes and shit like that, and outside of just, like, the side effects from all the global radiation fallout and stuff like that, outside of all that shit, I mean, like, so there's this really, really nasty radioactive sea life. Oh, yeah. I mean, at least with Fallout 4, I mean, say what you want about that game, like, I mean, if there's anything, that is implied with Fallout 4, if you go on the coast and shit like that, there's a lot of crazy fucking sea life. I can imagine, like, if you go, to, like, deep out in the sea, you will see some weird shit. Giant shrimp and shit. Oh my god. Fuck, dude. Imagine this Tales from the Sea, from the Fallout world, dude. Holy shit. But hey, if you catch a giant shrimp, then you're gonna be eating for years. At least, like, I mean, it really just kind of confirms in my mind that we should have like a fallout based in like the United Kingdom or in like France or even Germany. Because like if you say like let's say like Soviet Union still existed, does that mean like the Eastern Bloc did that still exist? So like the People's Republic of like Poland and Latvia, Estonia, etc. Like all these other countries, like were they still technically like Eastern Bloc, or is that part of the timeline? Like, because I actually don't know too much about that part. I mean, I would think that there probably would, at least to some degree. I don't know, like, because it'd be kind of interesting to see if, like, the Germany is unified at some point, during, like, the lead up to what would eventually be, like, the Fallout world, if on Russia's side or the EU. Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I feel like there's a perfect opportunity to kind of help, put some concrete lore, for Europe, because there's, like, very vague notions about some stuff that may or may not have happened, but beyond that, it's a blank slate, basically. You got, like, a foundation set up. They did say Germany was reunited in the 50s. Oh, so they're okay. So they're referencing the first diplomatic attempts that Germany tried to reunify, like because yeah, it's with the deal with Stalin before he died, and also like and at least if the silver lining about that, at least with our timeline, is that it did for a while, at least did codify a unified German Olympic team. Like, because during the Cold War, off and on, there was West and East German Olympic teams. But, at least with the first, kind of unification attempt, they, at least for a while, had, kind of a, unified, German Olympic team. Though both sides, honestly, of the German teams and stuff, like, would keep, like, being antagonistic to each other because they kept blaming each other for taking steroids. Like, both sides did. I mean, I would just argue that maybe both of those motherfuckers were doing it. Like, the East and West, like, just to be honest. Like, everyone was fucking, like, doping up a little bit, to try to make their performance good. So, I mean, it's just like, if, like, the Eastern Germans and shit, and, like, if they were doing it, then honestly, the motherfuckers on the West were doing it too. I mean, let's just be fucking honest here. I mean, it's not just like one side that's just all dishonest about it, and then the West is all like, oh, we're just so honest and clean about this. It's like, bullshit, come on. From a Cold War between Russia and U.S. kind of fizzled out and transferred to China. Well, I mean, realistically, that's kind of what happened with our current timeline, just way differently. Like, it fizzled out between Russia and U.S. because, the USSR dissolved, and at least for a while, there was, like, not really any big super baddie to look at for a while. But at this point, I mean, it's basically either Russia or China, depending, I guess, on who you see or who you talk to about that. But a lot of people, even people who might say Russia, too, will certainly say China. It's, like, kind of like the big baddie right now. I mean, at least, it's rising up to be the big baddie. Which, I mean, granted, definitely it's got merit to it, but isn't it just a case that we're kind of all baddies? US, Russia, and China, we're just all baddies, just trying to, like, look like the least bad fuck out there? And allowed to survive the 80s and 90s. I mean, honestly, like, it's kind of interesting that, like, I mean, what's weird is, like with the Fallout universe, at least with, like, the lore from, like, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and stuff like that, I mean, it's kind of interesting that, like, the Fallout world basically kind of has, like, some of the more better outcomes from different things that have happened during the Cold War, at least between the USSR and the US. Like, I mean, like the deal with Stalin between the two Germanys, or like, just kind of having more neutral relations with the U.S. and the West, versus the USSR and the East. Like, which, if that's the case, that does kind of imply that maybe some of these other Eastern Bloc states, potentially were, like, still existed. Because if that's the case, then, East and West Germany, being unified would, kind of be more of a neutral state. If that's the case, then maybe Germany also probably has fared out pretty okay too. If you think about it, because if they're more neutral in geopolitical affairs because they're unified after being split for a little bit of time after World War II, then it kind of applies to kind of become like a more like maybe not as hardcore neutral as Switzerland. Like maybe not an interventionist, but not totally isolative. And also Switzerland too. I mean, I'm pretty sure Switzerland's probably like untouched, in the Fallout world. They're probably, especially with all things considered, like I'm sure the Alps is probably like, if you think about it, probably helps protect them from some of the radiation being spread from weather patterns and stuff like that. I mean, I would think. I mean, maybe not entirely, but it's applied neo-fascists who took over Germany after EU was dissolved. Oh god! Oh fuck! Oh no! They went Nazi 2 Electric Boogaloo in the Fallout world? Oh fuck me! No! Ah! Oh. Well, never mind. Fatherland Front, as they called it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh no. Oh my god. Well, okay, well, I retract everything I just said. Hopefully they got impacted by the nukes too. Oof. Well, I guess in the Fallout world, Germany decided to not remember its history. It decided to be like, hey, you know that thing we did in the 30s and 40s? Let's do that again. They took over after the nukes. No! Fuck! Oh my god! Okay, well, fuck me. Man! As a reaction to nuking themselves. So they also nuked it. Oh my god, dude. Even in the Fallout world, the fascists are psychotic. Jesus Christ. Ay, ay, ay. That's like a Dios Mio moment if I've ever have heard of one. Oh my god. Well, have fun with your Aryan utopia that is known as the European Fallout Wasteland there, buddy. The EU dissolved and used nukes on each other, and then that's when the Fatherland Front came out, and well, so basically it's like the European Caesar Legion, but probably like 10 times worse. Great. Awesome. Sounds awesome. British Isles are said to be the least radioactive. I mean, I feel like that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Just because, like, the UK and the US have always been very close allies, at least, post, like, 1800s and shit, for the most part. Like, and with that, you would think they would be at least, collaborative with whatever America's interest would be in when it comes to things like China and stuff, right? Like, I feel like China would also be nuking the UK as much as, like, the US, and, because, I mean, the whole, thing about Fallout is, like, basically it's just a mad doctrine, but, it happened. Like, it's putting it into execution. So it's just like, if that's the case, like, in Fallout, Britain never left the EU, but they're also, but historically, and I would imagine even in the lore, they, they would at least, be very collaborative with the US, which honestly, I guess when it comes to the, European nations fighting each other, that does at least give them a buffer, because if anyone were to attack the UK, then America suddenly is like, what the fuck's up here? And it starts making its, boots on the ground, and then you get quashed. So it's like, in a way, it actually makes sense in that case, now that I think about it. So, actually, in a way, you're probably right, with that one now that I think about it. Because if they're a close ally with the U.S., then they, at least with the, nukings that happen with the EU, they wouldn't be hit by that. But they would be by China, though, if, when that happened, in 2077, so it's one of those things where I feel like eventually they're going to get nuked to shit. And maybe not by, EU and that instability, but, at least, by China in that case. I kind of want to see China and Fallout. I do too. I mean, I think it would be pretty cool to see, like I said, just really Fallout based somewhere else that is in the U.S. Like China, like, you know, somewhere in Europe, or like, you know, Canada, even Mexico. The lore implies they were carpet nuked multiple times. Well, yeah, that's kind of that. Well, in a part of America's side of Mad Doctrine is multiple waves of carpet nuking the fuck out of everything. There's actually a there's actually a game that kind of simulates some of these things. In fact, here, let me try to find it, because this gives you a perspective about, like, you know, what this, you know, what I'm talking about here. Just need to find it first. Okay, well, here's the game. I just want to find the... which one is it? Ah, here we go. It's a nuclear war simulator, so... Here we go. Oh, here, let me turn this on. Boop. There we go. Here. I got it on full screen, yeah. But this actually will, like, basically kind of show you, you know, like, all sorts of crazy-ass things about this.
Showing off a new game called Nuclear War Simulator. Now, this isn't really a game. This
But here.
fire, this person is... take...
So you can literally, like, kind of, you know, have, like, random, like, randos and stuff to kind of see different effects of, like, what Fallout or, like, you know, or these different things could happen, you know, in different areas. And also, you can kind of see, like, the effects when it comes to radiation and stuff like that with, you know, these little things. Like, there's all sorts of little tiny things that you can kind of see when it comes to, like, just different variables, you know, when it comes to a nuke being dropped and shit. But here, let's just, like, see what happens when, you know, you just see a bunch of these fucking things go off. So, here's how the U.S. essentially does this type of shit.
We can go here if we want to the missile silo fields. These are the command silos for them.
Wait, hold on. I want to turn up just a little bit. I've been eyeing this game. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not, yeah, like you said, it's not really a game, though. But, dude, also, these are, like, all missile silos. Dude, look at this. Like, if you happen to live near, like, in Sydney, you are literally surrounded by these fucking things. There's Wyoming, I believe. Which, just east of them, there's, like, all those fucking little fields. Dude, that is kind of crazy, though. This also gives you a perspective about, like, a general idea about, like, how many of these things are. Like, you know, and this is just one spot. We have a shitload of these little fields scattered all over the U.S. and the Midwest.
We can target each of these Minutemen warheads if we want to, but they're already pre-targeted. And, Russia.
You see all that up there in Montana? Those are also silo fields and shit like that. There's, like, a couple here and there dotted on the West Coast. I think there's, like, a small little field in Oregon and a couple in California a little bit there, including some air bases near them as well. In North Dakota, there's a few missiles literally right on the Canadian border. And, you know, and there's, like, a couple of tiny ones here and there, but they're mostly, like, also kind of intertwined with, like, U.S. Military bases. Like, some of them have these little planes, you know, where, like, nuclear, you know, capable aircraft, you know, can go fly in, you know, drop their, you know, ordnances, you know, like, outside of their targets and shit. So, you know, you can kind of see, like, how much we really got going on, you know what I mean? It's a fuckload.
States. We're going to start it and show you guys what will happen. We're gonna put
if we started to just launch all this shit. It also shows, like, Russia's stuff here, too. And Europe as well. You skimmed over Europe there for a second. Which some of it's ours, too. Because we just have it over there as well.
Percent increase in speed here.
But, yeah, you kind of saw there's, like, a bunch of blobs, you know, different silos, different stuff like that that's in Europe, at least with nuclear-capable countries.
Where it's happening. See, all the aircraft are outbound.
All the missiles are out, too.
Air base where all the nuclear aircraft are. These are their silo fields. They have silo fields here. All the the mobile ICBMs are out pretty much all around the Urals. Silo field here.
Silo field.
Silo field here.
Russia's got a whole lot more of them. I mean, they're so big, that they can have like smaller fields, and scatter them, everywhere, like in comparison. Like, while ours are a lot more condensed and big and clustered up, like Russia's got like more smaller ones that are scattered everywhere.
The rest are all the road mobile ICBMs. As you can see, the opening salvo has started.
And also, these are our nuclear subs, and this would be like the first salvos.
With pretty much everything.
Look at that! Look at that shit right there, dude. I mean, that's the first waves, and that is hundreds of nukes, dude. This is like if we decided to just launch them all. It's like, alright, Mad Doctrine, we're doing it, let's go. Like, this is what it would look like. I mean... And this is just the first wave.
Russia has launched every freaking nuke they possibly have. And they are outbound. Russia hasn't detected them yet, but as you can see, they're closing in.
As soon as these ones drop, they're going to start launching them.
Anti-ballistic missile forces, like that they can shoot down ballistic missiles using nuclear weapons, but guess what? Doesn't work very well.
Notice also they're not like scattered everywhere. They're mostly condensed into very specific targets too. And at least for those ones that are going right there, they're going to hit that big cluster right there, which has got a lot of different nuclear capable military bases, mobile silos, actual little silo fields. Like a lot of these nukes that we have, set up are meant to target shit like this. Like, because it's basically meant to, like, hey, you got a bunch of nukes that could wipe out, like, a city or something? Well, we have nukes to wipe out your nukes in your nuclear fields and shit. And then it'll be like, oh, da comrade, well, we got nukes to wipe out your silo fields. And then you just build it up back and forth. I mean, this is kind of where the whole, like, nuclear's arms race, really kind of comes to fruition. You can kind of really see, like, what, like, these little things, back and forth were really about. It wasn't necessarily just trying to make the biggest, baddest bomb, but also like, oh, you're going to make a big, bad bomb? Well, we got a bomb that could take out your, like, setup that launches your bomb. Oh, Doc, well, we're going to have stuff to set up that you can blow up your setup for blowing up our setup for a bomb. It's like, it's a back and forth game.
Russia has
and the only way to win is to not play. Oh, see these flashes? Those are the first ones that dropped. It looks like, St. Petersburg up there would get fucked first, and Moscow. It looks like they both get hit at about the same time.
Yeah, but as you can see,
oh fuck, dude!
Being hit, all the road mobiles are surviving because, well, they're road mobile. The nukes aren't going to target them very well. All of their ballistic missile forces are surviving somehow. Silos are pretty defensible.
Jesus Christ, look at all this.
America just unloaded.
Oh my god, look at all that. I mean, this is just the first wave, too.
Havoc upon everything.
Fucking nuts. And it's all condensing into it's all, like, hyper-focused on this chunk of Russia, too. Like, it's all meant to hit all this shit, basically.
These are thousands and thousands of MIRVs. From ICBMs, SLBMs, just everywhere. Destroying everything that they possibly can.
Nearly crashed this game there for a second.
Attack too. Not sure how they're going to pull that off. All they have is road mobile.
Dude, imagine just, like, having an area literally endlessly for, like, a good, like 5 minutes or some shit, just, like, being bombarded with, it would just be insane.
Submarine.
Like, imagine how much this would probably, like, unironically, like, move the Earth from orbit a little bit, just because of the sheer momentum and pressure and force of all these, like, powerful, like, explosions and shit, just, like, moving Earth around. Oh my fucking lord, dude.
It seems like. And their airborne forces. Once an aircraft is launched with a nuclear weapon, it's going to continue on, and carry out its order. Its base has been destroyed. So all the topals and everything.
We cancel climate change and look at it. It makes things much, much worse. Yeah, I mean, it really kind of does. Especially considering, like, these little factors right here and shit.
Actually, yeah, the subs in the Arctic. Subs here in the Pacific have launched too. All of these nukes are now outbound. All of our aircraft are now outbound also.
For the second wave.
Take this one out. Speed it up just a little bit more. It also has some very realistic scenarios at the same time.
I think they also have one of a hypothetical if like a tactical nuke was used in Ukraine. I think there is a scenario that someone made, of a hypothetical of what that may look like.
Using escalate to de-escalate, tripwire forces, launch.
Seeing like at least with a lot of these counter retaliatory nuke attacks, they're all very specifically kind of condensed into certain areas too. Which I guess I guess for a certain degree, depending on where you happen to live, it actually probably won't, like granted, things will obviously be way worse because Fallout world, basically, but, you might not necessarily get immediately, affected by things like this. I mean, it might take a couple days before you really, truly see the effects of it. I mean, you won't feel it, immediately for sure, because obviously, a lot of things just kind of got, boomed and vaporized, so it's like, there's a lot of things where it kind of takes into account that, obviously shit's gonna be fucked, for quite some time, but, I mean, there's some places that generally don't really get hit that much, because I think it kind of goes into some of the outcomes here.
See the damage that these nuclear weapons... Everything in the blue is a nuclear strike. We can actually go and see all the fallout. Most of, Russia is just...
So, look at this. This is what happened when we launched everything. I mean, it's just fucked. But if you look at, over there in Europe, way less, in comparison. But that's just, for Europe too, at least.
Fallout. But most of the population centers around here in this area anyways, so not too bad. Nuclear strikes on...
Italy?
Military targets, of course, the fallout will move based off of the normal wind changes.
UK got pretty messed up on that one.
The United States,
and this is the US after all that, which, there's very important little things and some high dense population centers and stuff that got hit, but over here on the West Coast, I mean, doesn't even look like anything really happened. There's there's 2 hits, in Oregon shit. Looks like America won that exchange. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, we got a lot of fuck you nukes. I mean, Russia does too, for sure, but this kind of implies, that, America was the one that launched first. So, it had the ability to launch all of those things from earlier, and, you know what I mean? It had the ability to do that type of shit. In comparison, right there. Had an ability to do this because they were the ones who launched first, at least when he did it. Obviously, there are actual, scenarios that you can look at and kind of see the results of what would look like from those type of scenarios. And, I mean, in degree, yeah, there is going to be somebody that fares better at the end of that game. But it just means, yeah, you got the least fucked up. No one really wins. I mean, the only way you either win is, by not playing or getting the least fucked up in the exchange. But even then, you're probably still going to be fucked up. So, it's just one of those things. It's do you want to get fucked up, or do you want to, try not to play the game? Because that would be the better thing to do. Just don't play it. You kind of have to play when a madman has access to that many nukes. Well, yeah. But that's the thing. Depending on how other players, look at the game, that might have to force you. Yes, I'm calling America and Russia madmen. Well, because they are. I mean, frankly, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, when it comes to, Russia more so now than the U.S. I mean, the U.S. has at least a silver lining that depending on who's the leader of the country, that, it's okay, we probably don't got to worry. Or it's oh God, oh God, oh God. Because, with Trump, it was literally is he gonna fucking press the nukes or something? Because he, that motherfucker straight up was yeah, why can't we use nukes? Because I remember at one point, I think the reason why the Moab was dropped in Afghanistan before we left there and shit, I think he wanted to try to, basically use it as an example, but, look at the military might and everything, let's use a nuke. And it's and they had to literally talk him down to pretty much, using the Moab instead. which was the only one that was in use, so now we have to make another one. Sup, dude? Sup? Yeah, and he also wanted to nuke a hurricane, and you talked about Fire Fury with, you know, Rocket Man and shit. Like, dude, that motherfucker was, like, you know, kind of, you know, egging on the idea of pressing a button himself. So it's just like, I mean, you know, like I said, America's got the silver lining to be like, depending on who's in charge, you know, we might not have to worry about the pressing of the button, but, Russia, man, they're fucked. They got the one dude. Unless they decide to, I don't know, do some very drastic measures, you know, to, you know, and all that, which I'm sure would probably happen at some point. I have a feeling it's going to be a fulcrum with that one. But if it's just going to be something that's going to have to build up. The Alien DSC, Mothership Zeta or whatever it was called. No, I want to, though. It's been a long time since I played Fallout, but never got a chance to play with that one. The aliens abduct a bunch of pre-war humans, and yeah, look at that moment where you tell Soldier what happened. Oh, really? He breaks down crying. Oh my, oh dude. Oh, now that you tell me that, I feel like, oh, should I... Is there a way where you can, oh, do I want to do, oh man, no. Okay, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I feel fucked up if I lie to that person, but on one hand, it's like, you know, like, maybe I should be truthful. Fuck, dude. Oof. Damn, that's brutal. He commits himself to being a crew member of the ship, assuming he survived the DLC. I mean, because, like, why would he want to go back to a world that no longer exists? Like, he probably would die of literal shock. He also gives you alien stims every day if he survives. Cool. So at least, you know, kind of ends up being, you know, benevolent and helpful. It's like, here you go, man, for being helpful and let me know about how, you know, the world was and give me some, you know, closure. And also, how in the fuck did that guy survive for all that time if he's a pre-war human? What, like, just, like, frozen or something? Like, cryogenically frozen, or I'm assuming? Like, or maybe the alien vessel just, like, you know, travels around and they cryo? Okay. Because I know because of, you know, space-time being relative and shit, like, the farther away you are from something, the longer it takes for time from there to travel, so to speak. So it's like I could see them, you know, like that alien vessel, like, traveling somewhere across the galaxy and then coming back, and thus kind of fast forward in time in a way. Like, while it might be, like, a few weeks or a couple months, you know, to that person, like, you know, like, everybody else basically is just, like, you know, essentially, you know, like, you know, it's just like a couple months, while for everybody else around the world, it's, you know, hundreds of years. The alien warrior cast is the evil ones, the work class actually sides with you. Alright, I really need to get this DLC, assuming you don't discriminately kill them, of course. Well, I wouldn't. The only time I did was in the Fallout New Vegas, when you have the, the Mysterious Wasteland perk. I think that's what it was called. Or the Wacky Wasteland perk. It was something called like that, where you get, like, you know, the weird little quirks and Easter eggs and shit like that popping up a lot and stuff. Like, I mean, you know, and then with that you can get, like, the alien blaster with that crashed alien ship and shit. Like, I mean, but they attack you, like, right off the bat if you go up to them. I also kind of wish in New Vegas, if you have that little, you know, like, you know, go to that, you know, like, you basically kind of like go to those aliens. I wish it would kind of like not kill you at first, just depending on how you react to them. Like, they could be like, human, can you help us? We need certain technology to help our ship leave and get back, to our mothership. Or some shit like that. But, depending on how you react to them, they will be either hostile or maybe ask for your help or just, like, be like, go away. And depending on how, depending on the outcomes, like, they might either give you the blaster if you help them or, like, maybe some other stuff, too, maybe. Like, I don't know. They could probably done a little bit extra with that. And the hostile aliens are said to be warrior class. So they definitely got some interesting little, like, caste system, and, like, warrior class, like a, like the worker, like, peasant class, essentially. If anything, if New Vegas takes place after 3, the Mothership Zeta has rebelled and joined your player character in 3. So they might not have a ship to return to. Oh, so that, you know what, that might explain it. And also, that might, explain maybe why they're hostile. Because maybe they're, like, exiles of the warrior caste that crash-landed and now are stuck. That makes sense. That's actually a very viable theory, actually. That would actually make sense right there. It makes, and also, at least, explain why they got their, blasters and immediately shoot you. Just so, that at least explains that. You could definitely start part of Canada multiple times. Oh my god. Yeah, fuck it. Death Laser Canada. Holy shit, dude. Imagine just being like some Canadian wastelander just wandering around. Oh, better watch out for those moose claws, eh? And then just like, you're like, oh fuck, eh? What the fuck is this about? Oh shit. I'm sorry. Oh fuck, dude. It's right over Vancouver. Oh no! No! My brother's in the north. Oh god. At least it ain't in Portland or anything. Or Seattle. But fuck. Oh no. Poor Vancouver, BC. Dude, that would be honestly fucked up. It's like, Vancouver, BC is like, rebuilding as a society and being like, alright, we finally, like, you got like a little town set up. We're like New Vancouver, part of like, the new British, Columbian Republic or something like that. And then out of nowhere, just a death laser just annihilates your newly established, like, capital. Just like, I mean, dude, that would just, all of a sudden just death ray. Oh my god, that'd be fucked. Yeah, like some Canadian ghoul just kind of hanging out, doing this thing, and just all of a sudden death ray. Oh my lord, dude. That'd be fucking, like, insane. There would probably be some psycho cults, that would form from that, being like, praise the god laser, for they, will be angered and smite thee. If we do not give him blessings or whatever the fuck, dude. Oh my lord. Dude, that would actually be pretty fucking great, honestly. See, that's why we need, like, a Fallout in, like, like, in like, based in, like, Canada or something like that, or in the PMW, because imagine a DLC where, like, if, like, let's say it's, like, Fallout Seattle or Fallout Portland, you have, like, a DLC that's, like, set in, like, Vancouver, BC. Dude, you could have it as an Easter egg, and then, like, if you, like, get in contact with, like, a cult, and, like, and like, have to, like, deal with their bullshit or whatever the fuck, you get a legit chance to have that death ray happen. Nucleus access satellites, I don't know why they never saw the alien ships in orbit. What if they did, but they just didn't, think anything of it because, oh, they're just observing. Like, or, I mean, maybe they do, maybe they are aware of it. And just because, maybe they just don't have the means to really deal with it, so they just don't do anything about it. You know, I mean, honestly, they probably are aware of it. If they have satellites and have access to that type of shit, and basically kind of the remnants of the U.S. government, then honestly, yeah, they probably are aware of it. They probably just don't have any real means or ability to do anything about it. I mean, that's my guess. I mean, because, like, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, now, there is a little bit of a hole about that, because there are some satellites, obviously, are laser weapons and shit. So, like, you would think they would just turn them around to one of those ships and just yeet the fucker. You know, like, so... Well, actually, if... Maybe because... fuck, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, they might have, like, you know, some sort of defensive capability for a weapon like that, so maybe that's why they don't do it, because they just... Maybe they've tried and it doesn't work, so... I don't know, honestly, there's a few theories that actually kind of, you know, can come into mind as to why they don't really do anything about them. Though I have a strong feeling that, you know, they probably are aware of them. Fallout 76 yeeted themselves and then recruited Vault Dwellers to fill the ranks. Listen, 2 and 3 Enclave did. So, yeah, which, if that's the case, you know... I mean... I would assume that they at least had some knowledge, but it just, you know... Like, I mean, think about it, like, what's the knowledge of having an alien ship out in orbit, you know, gonna do for an average wastelander, or for, you know, the Enclave, or, you know, whatever, like, what's that information really gonna do? Like, I mean, outside of be like, oh, what? You know, like, really? You know, like, outside of some person being like, you know, thinking, ooh, crazy, cool story, weird, you know, or whatever, like... Most people are probably not going to... It's like, you know, when the government base is like, oh, yeah, we got aliens and this stuff, blah, 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 you know, when that thing happened like a month ago, and, like, most people basically do not give a fuck. Like, I mean, it's like that. Like, I feel like most people probably just don't give a shit. Could have used the leftover nukes on them, maybe. Yeah, but, I mean... Like, some of the silos were built, too. I don't know. I mean, it's automatically rebuild nuke. Or, like, some of the silos were built to automatically rebuild nukes. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm assuming there's probably some theories that, you know, will justify as to why. I'm just kind of spitballing, obviously. Because my guess is that, like, I guess, like, if theoretically, if you shoot the, you know, that ship and destroy it, that's just going to have more of them come back, right? Like, so, and thus, you know, be like, oh, there's a threat here that has destroyed, you know, one of our ships. Let's send more to eliminate threat. Like, I feel like that it will be like that. Like, they're going to come back and be like, oh, fuck that. You know, gotta, you know, reclaim our ship and our, you know, our dead and deal with this threat that just attacked it. So, I don't know. I mean, I would think that, you know, there's probably just a few variables at play in the fact that they probably can't necessarily directly attack them, because even with nukes, they don't really have a strong ability to do anything about them. And even if they did, they probably would, you know, have, you know, a bigger problem if, you know, they were to come back with reinforcements, so to speak, right? Like, so... I think it's just one of those things where they can't really do anything about it, and because, you know, at least for the most part, they don't really do anything, they just don't really see them as a relevant threat or a relevant problem. They just kind of see it as probably more as like a curious observation more than anything. If I had to take a guess, at least. Because honestly, like I said, like, what, you know, interest does, like, you know, the Enclave truly have with that? Outside of maybe trying to grab some of the technology, I guess, but, I mean, like, they're more about trying to purify the wasteland. I feel like, you know, they're gonna probably just, you know, maybe see about, like, what weapons, you know, they would have and take advantage of that type of shit, but, I mean, like I said, it just kind of feels like one of those things where... It's just not really on their, you know, prevalent, you know, like, you know, priority. Enclave wants to build spaceships and leave. Well, at least Fallout 2 Enclave did. Well, I'm assuming there's at least, you know, different variables, or at least, you know, different, like, little sub-factions of the Enclave. I would think, right? Like, And with that, you know, they probably have different interests, or maybe depending on who's leading the enclave, you know, maybe they have different priorities instead. So, I don't know. I figured it's like one of those things where it probably just kind of varies. Oh my god, these fucking fruit flies, dude. Holy shit. These little fuckers are so driving me nuts right now. There's like nothing for them to really get at over here right now. Like, what the fuck? Can you like all go away, you little bitches? Boop. Oh fuck. At least they're too stupid. Because they're easily just flying either into the flames or landing on something and not reacting quick enough to, to fly away from them. Little fucks. See if this one wants to land. Yep, it did. Well, that's at least a pretty significant decrease of them. Probably at least got like 2 or 3 of them, or maybe 4 doing that. Little bastards. Well, y'all come back for another round? Yeah, got a couple more doing that. Wow, that really did actually take out a pretty decent amount of them. There's like way less of them now buzzing around. The purification of the flame. Can't get every single one, but hey, well, it's got a pretty decent amount. Because they're too dumb. They'll just like land randomly. Like, that's what I love about fruit flies. They're like, they can't react as quick as fat ass house flies and shit. So sometimes you can, you know, just like, you know, just do a quick little squish of them, or, you know, take a flame to them and shit. Like, I mean, they're easier to deal with. You can't really like fly swat them because they're too small, but at least you can get other means to do so. It really is too easy doing this. It's just like when they're buzzing around in the air like this, they're harder to get, but when they start kind of finding something to land on or get near an object, they suddenly kind of like have this sense of like disorientation and can't react as well to things. They flew right into it, dumbass. Oh, you're still alive? Well, there you go. See, at least these little fuckers are easy to deal with. Eh, got you too, little fuck. At least it is satisfying. Fallout Tactics. It sounds familiar. I think I have, yeah. I don't think I know much about it. Isn't that the, is that a mobile game, or is that like the board game based version? Like, I've heard of it, I just forgot exactly what it is. It's not canon, but I like that the Brotherhood in the game is more open to recruiting wasters and mutants. No, so another game. Okay. Well, yeah, I haven't heard much about it, but I mean, I'm assuming it's just because maybe that faction of the Brotherhood is a lot more, I guess for lack of better words, more liberal, I suppose. Instead of being like, you know, kind of like ethno-nationalistically, like, kind of bent with their ideas. Fuckers just love flying into the flame, do they? The Midwest Brotherhood realized they want to get far without new blood. Well, yeah, because there's not a lot of people in the Midwest in the first place, so yeah, you're going to want to at least get some more people recruited. They kind of saw the writing on the wall of shit like that. Did one just fucking, like, touch and go on my nose? One of those little fuckers just laid it on my nose and flew out. You little bastard. Bam. Bam, 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 bam. Too easy killing these little things. And suit mirrors were Gen 1, so they have brains and saw writing on the wall, joined up, and move on. Which makes sense. Like, I mean, you wanna, like, I mean, it's basically all just based off of, like, you know, self-interest, basically, in a way. And, you know, and realizing that there are common mutual interests, you know, and it's in the best interest, you know, for, you know, for both groups, you know, to join sides, you know, for those common interests and common goals. Because at least whatever differences there are can at least be worked out and, you know, can be, you know, roughed out, you know, over time. Gets a little weird when intelligent Deathclaws join the Brotherhood. Intelligent, like sentient Deathclaws? Like they can speak and talk, like what? Okay, that seems a little weird. Not even gonna lie. Yeah. Okay, that's weird. I'm not gonna lie, that don't even really make sense. Like, they're, granted, yeah, smart animals, but, I mean, I wouldn't consider them, like, sentient or intelligent by really any metric. At least in the sense of, like... Oh, okay, so in Fallout 2, there's an Enclave experiment that gave a group of them intelligence. Okay, so they fled and, yeah, I guess reproduced and shit, okay. Well, that makes sense. There's some over here. Yeah, I found a few of them, you know, that decided to try to find Land Ho. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And those particular Deathclaws ended up in the Midwest. Oh, one right there. Boop. Boop. I think the ones in the garage are starting to come back because now I have this open, so they're attracted to smell this. So there's actually more of them coming back around, but I mean, they keep getting sacrificed, dude. They keep getting sacrificed to the flame. And it's too fucking easy. There's one over here. Bam. Let's see. Where else are these motherfuckers gonna land? I'm having too much fun with this. It's satisfying, like, burning these little fuckers as they buzz around. Because it's just too easy. Bam. Nah, barely missed that one. Bam. Got you. Got you. You just flew. You dive bombed that. Big dicks right from the sky. What's up, Harley? How you doing, my man? Dealing with a wave of fruit flies, and I don't think they're having a good time. Because I literally keep burning them as they keep flying around. Bam. Another one. Another one bites the flame. Bam. Another one bite. Another one bite in the flame. Oh, it's another one right there. Bam. Bam. Hey, don't run away from me. There you go. Bam. This is way too fucking easy. Game ends with Brotherhood taking over the entire northern Midwest. And listen to good ending does, and has Brotherhood a robot army at the end. Nice. Going insane, one life to go, back to normal. Wait, so, yeah, when are you, like, you're gonna finally be able to, you know, get out and about and do your shit again? I mean, how's your leg been anyways? Hopefully, like, you get to a point where you can start walking again and shit, right? Hopefully. Man. If it's like T. Smith West Brotherhood, they never deliver on it. That seems pretty typical Bethesda, though. They don't seem like they want to, you know, deliver on a lot of things. That little hoe. That little fruit fly hoe just landed right on my eye. What the fuck? That prick. Every time I put pressure on my leg, feels like it's going to snap. It's feeling really slow and it's driving me fucking crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the fact. That's kind of the thing about you know, broken legs, especially that. I mean, you know, it's going to be kind of weak and in a way kind of brittle, you know, and you can't really put too much pressure on it. I mean, you just kind of have to take it slow and, you know, eventually you'll get yourself oriented again and shit, but it certainly will take a while. We need to get Harley 2 strippers, one male, one female. Well, we already have one taken care of, we just need to find the female. Did I just see one of these little fuckers flying here? Could've swore I just did. Well, I don't see, so I think we're good. And you can't touch either of them? Well, then what's the point? Boo. If we were going to hire him personal sex workers, I mean, he can, you know, at that point, you know, touch him stuff. It's not like he's going to an actual brothel or something, or strip club, I guess, in this case. Man. Little fruit flies getting murked. It'd really be too easy fucking with these bitches. Succumb to the flames, little bastards. Probably does. If I goes, I know one for a job, more cushion for the pushing. Well, I don't mind it. I mean, and I'm pretty sure, you know, he's a guy that likes his big booba. So I think he'll be just fine. Man, these fuckers really... As soon as I set this down, they all, like, converged on my fucking drink. How many of these little bastards are in here? I mean, fuck. There's a few of them down here. For my coffee can. And I just, like, did mass genocide, so that was really easy. Mass genocide, these little flies, way too easy. I mean, but seriously, we're in the, like, how do they just materialize randomly out of nowhere, dude? Like, seriously. I mean, for fucking real. They're luckily not really in the house by any real means, but holy fucking shit, they do love being in here. And I seriously don't even, like, I don't know how half the time they're here in the first place. Speaking Dibbies, I saw a library. I was at the library, and the librarian was at least 40 with the biggest booba I've seen. My lord. The biggest booba. A glorious booba. Ooh. There we go. Snack, crack, pop. Hey, Hooks. You should try to eat some of these flies over here, bro. Yeah, you. You could probably fuck a good amount of them up, dude. Just saying. This cat man has to be on my lap. Well, because he likes you. That just means he trusts you and wants to love on you. Give you cuddles and snuggles. I'll take fruit flies over ants any day. Those little bastards getting everything. Well, so do fruit flies. I mean, that's like why, they're fucking annoying little bastards. I mean, ants do too, but luckily I haven't really had many ant problems. That fruit fly really thought that, like, walking on my finger was going to be a good idea. At least flies don't bite. Well, neither do the tiny ants. I mean, like, if you, like, go at their nest and shit, sure, but if they're, like, we're talking about, like, just simply being like, oh, hey, there's an ant here. Oh, actually, speaking of which, there actually was one right there. Blomp. Blomp. Is this a dog? I mean, come on. Ants don't really bite. Well, I mean, let's be real. Ferrets are what we have. Okay, never mind. Yeah, those are little bastards I would not fuck with. Kid Rock and author Oliver Anthony are being canceled by the right. Oh boy. I have a can of Raid and I'm not afraid. Well, I guess what we should be sadly afraid of is that our astroturfed buddy is, I guess, already being hated on by the right. He literally lasted like 2 seconds and now they don't like him. And I guess Kid Rock, but honestly, who fucking liked Kid Rock in the first place? I mean, he's just a fucking moron. And just a stupid little insecure white boy, rich boy. Like, I mean, that's just really what he is. He's like an insecure little white rich boy that thinks he's like, some sort of like, white working class hood dude or whatever the fuck. And it's just like, my lord. No, you're not. It's like you're an immature little twit, Kid Rock. Like, I mean, my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I gotta turn this thing back on, because we keep not playing things, for too long, and that thing will automatically turn off. There we go.
Have a terrific day.
Oh, caught with a bud. Oh, shit. Our boy was caught with Bud Light. Man. And I thought you were against Bud Light for how woke it was, brother. And now here you are, drinking a fucking Bud Light. Sad. Very sad. You're drinking a Bud Light. You now have all the trans estrogen, fluids all up in you. And now you're about to be woke, Kid Rock. Look what you've done.
Your eyes are not deceiving you, my friends. You indeed just saw a photograph of Kid Rock drinking a Bud Light during a Colt Ford show in Nashville, Tennessee. So I guess this means that the boycott is over, right? Now, if you're still skeptical, well, there's a second photograph taken from a different angle, which...
Oh god, this angle is even more, unflattering. Oh god, this is a very unflattering angle.
Really confirms that he is indeed holding a can of Bud Light. Now, there's also video evidence of this betrayal published by TMZ, which I cannot share due to copyright issues. But, yeah, it seems like this is the end of the Bud Light boycott, or perhaps the beginning of the end, at least when it comes to Kid Rock's participation.
I mean, honestly, the main reason why is because, when it comes to these boycotts, they never last long. I mean, granted, this whole Bud Light one probably lasted way longer than others, but, I mean, honestly, no one gave a fuck. Kid Rocky's gone to the dark side. Gone to the dark side? He's always been on the dark side. That's kind of the problem. He's always been like a chuckle fuck. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, it's just so, I mean, it's just another example of him being just a chuckle fuck, but also just another example of these conservatives that, are basically all talking, try to act like a bunch of fucking alpha male macho bros, but really just, show their card of how much, a bunch of pussy-footed little bitches they really are.
For all three of you not familiar with this story, Kid Rock, a couple of months ago, shot up cans of Bud Light in protest of their brand deal with a trans influencer. Now, that was arguably what sparked this boycott in the first place, which ultimately resulted in a substantial drop in sales for Bud Light, and them losing their status to Modelo as the top-selling beer in the country.
Really? Modelo, huh?
So for once, conservatives were able to flex some muscle when it comes to the culture, and now I guess it's all been thrown away by the very person who catalyzed this movement. Hilarious. Now, the right is taking this about as well as you'd expect. One Twitter user cried conspiracy, writing, "Actually, he was drinking a Coors Light can. This is a lie. Someone altered it. Look at the pic carefully. Also, the blue outline doesn't match the blue can. Someone took the Bud Light logo and inserted it over the blue on the can."
What the fuck? You can't be serious, dude. No way. Dude, this motherfucker actually is trying to make a conspiracy theory saying that this is not actually Bud Light. Are you fucking kidding me?
Fortunately for this person,
I wish I was so, bricked up on, whatever drug they're on. Well, actually, probably not. Because, just the weird imaginations that they have and shit, dude. How the fuck do you lose to Modelo? Modelo tastes like fucking piss water. I don't fucking know. I mean, Bud Light tastes like piss water too, so honestly, it's just a competition of what tastes like piss the least, I guess.
Not true, and even if it were true, Coors Light is also woke. But another user attacked a journalist for sure, and unfortunately for this person, that's not true, and even if it were true, Coors Light is also woke.
Which, yeah, refreshingly proud.
But another user attacked a journalist for sharing the photo.
What? Do I know any early career writers open to high volume, fast paced work? US on blah 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 blah. Last thing you wrote was doozy. Posted a picture of Kid Rock holding a Bud Light, finding background verification. It wasn't a Photoshop. There was taking years ago. Garbage clip picture. It's time to brainwash liberals even more. Dude, that picture was after the whole kerfuffle, you moron. Those pictures went from 2012, you idiot. What? Oh my god.
Stupid. Writing, that last thing you wrote was a doozy. Posting a picture of Kid Rock holding a Bud Light without any background that wasn't Photoshop.
Oh my god.
It was taken years ago. Garbage clickbait journalism designed to brainwash liberals.
Blue Moon is the only good we've had. Blue Moon is actually pretty good. I like Blue Moon.
More. Goddamn. Now, aside from the conspiracies, others expressed genuine disappointment. For example, the Daily Caller tweeted, "Come on, Kid Rock, what are we doing?"
Hey, I mean, if him, then what about this bitch? She's also holding a Bud Light can too.
Others replying, calling him a fraud and a hypocrite, or questioning the authenticity of the photo.
Oh my god, these people are really now just realizing this guy has no credibility and is a fucking hypocrite, just like the rest of these conservative chucklefucks. It's the war over piss beer, who's the king. I mean, no shit, dude.
The aforementioned conspiracy theorists that we saw. Now, in response to Tim Pool jokingly calling it treason, although we know he's deeply hurt in reality, an account called "We Are All God's Children" wrote, "I am strongly against cancel culture, but I am calling for a boycott of
all Kid Rock products."
Kid Rock products.
Oh my god, these people are fucking cringe, dude. These conservative yokels are just so fucking cringe. We're all God's children, and I'm against cancel culture, but let's cancel fucking Kid Rock, dude. And Tim Pool literally is at, to the extreme of, he committed treason, dude. Kid Rock committed high treason against the United States of America because he dared drink a Bud Light. Oh my god, bro. These people are fucking retarded. They are insane, dude.
Further notice, they're fucking serious about this. Now, my favorite response came from conservative influencer Nick Adams, who released a satirical official statement writing, "I have been made aware of social media posts circulating that show Kid Rock allegedly enjoying a can of Bud Light. I take this allegation seriously and am in close contact with sources on the ground. I am currently conducting a thorough investigation evaluating confidential photo and video evidence and interviewing eyewitnesses. Kid Rock is an American icon and a..."
Oh my god.
Considered innocent until proven guilty. I have complete and total faith that we will uncover the truth. I mean, goddamn, conservatives sure are deranged, but...
Oh my god, this shit really is awesome, dude. Oh my fucking god. And we didn't even get to the juice of Oliver Anthony yet. Because that guy, he was very overtly just openly astroturfed out of nowhere for 15 seconds, and now I guess he's also woke, on top of Kid Rock and all these other dumbasses.
You've got to give him.
I wish Trump would be picture of a Bud Light. I mean, I feel like he would be one of the few people that wouldn't. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's, like, kind of a straight-edge guy. I don't think he likes, I don't think he likes alcohol. I don't think Trump's been known to drink. He's been known to snort Addies and shit, but I don't really think he's known to drink alcohol or anything.
For at least being entertaining. Now, there's debate online about Nick Adams and whether or not he's playing a character, and I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think that he's likely a conservative who plays up conservatism for more engagement on Twitter, and his post was very clearly meant to be a joke, but I mean, I have to be honest, people like him and Tim Pool downplaying this by joking about this, it does feel a little bit like cope to me. Because when they finally were able to assert some cultural dominance, I mean, it's gotta feel like a gut punch to see the person who led the charge being exposed as a complete fraud and not living up to the principles that he said all of them should espouse, right? And I get that it's beer and it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but remember, we're not the ones who made this a big deal. They're the ones who made this a big deal. But, unfortunately...
Honestly, who gives a fuck? Well, that's what Mike Figueredo's saying. Like, realistically, no one should give a fuck, but people like Kid Rock right here, who's taking an MP5 and fucking obliterating a bunch of Bud Light cans, they're the ones who give a fuck. And they are basically the ones who want to make this whole thing a big deal when it literally isn't. And the only reason why it is in the first place is because, like Bud Light gave a commemorative, like, 6-pack or, like, a can or something like that, to Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, that was it. Like, they didn't even do a sponsorship or an ad campaign. They just, like, gave, like, basically, like, a swag bag care package, to Dylan Mulvaney, basically. That was it. Like, they were like, here you go. Like, that was pretty much all they did. It's like, here's, like, a little fun little care package for you or something. And, she decided to make a video about it, being like, hey, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. And every conservative and their fucking mother and their dog all had, like, the biggest fucking conniption fit over this.
Kid Rock was never serious about boycotting.
Oh my god, wait a minute. Hold up, is it confirmed this guy actually did not shoot? Hold on. Wait a minute.
This is a big deal. But, unfortunately for them, Kid Rock was...
Yeah! Oh my god! Holy fuck! Dude, somebody with a shotgun is shooting those cans. Dude, this actually confirms that this guy wasn't even shooting them in the first place. Like, he missed most of that. There's somebody off camera with a shotgun that's shooting those. Oh my fucking god. Did anyone ever notice this when that first happened? Because oh my god, that confirms it. He didn't shoot those. Like, well, he tried, but I guarantee you that he barely shot any of them. Whoever had the shotgun is the one who blasted them all to smithereens.
Never serious about boycotting.
Right there, yeah. Those were like full-on straight, like, like dragon's breath slugs or something.
Here's what CNN found when they visited his bar in Nashville, Tennessee.
Despite the online bravado and talk of a boycott, Bud Light was available when CNN stopped in recently. It is not clear if the ban had been lifted or if there ever had been one to begin with.
That was the mainstream media equivalent of them this-shoeing someone, because that was CNN this-shoeing Kid Rock.
This you, Kid Rock?
And it's hypocritical, right? They say one thing and do another. They're never serious about these things, and I wish that conservatives, like the rank-and-file conservatives, would understand that these grifters do not give a shit about anything they purport to care about. It's all just an act to farm engagement. Now, the reactions that I showed you were mostly from smaller right-wing accounts. I think that most larger accounts have been silent on this issue because they're embarrassed, unless they were joking, right? Like Nick Adams or Tim Pool. But their silence to me is a sign that they do feel embarrassed because this was something that mattered to them, right? Even though we made fun of it.
I mean, it like, how pathetic must it be that, like, a boycott of a fucking piss water beer that is just trash, is something that, like, is that big of an impact and embarrassment of because one of their, buddies and their allies in the movement, decided to have one. It's just so fucking pathetic.
This was really important. They wanted to be able to assert their own cultural dominance, and to an extent, it was successful, at least when it comes to Bud Light. Now, to demonstrate why they actually think this is serious, we're going to look at a clip from Tim Pool's show where he talks about this betrayal. And, you know, he jokingly called it treason on Twitter, but in actuality, he's mad about this. And he had Laura Loomer, of all people, on his show, and she actually made the most serious point about this issue, that all of these companies that conservatives support have already gone woke in some way, shape, or form. But we're not going to look at that or give her credit. I want to look specifically at Tim Pool's explanation as to why these types of boycotts are crucial to conservatives, despite his initially half-serious response at first. Let's watch.
From TMZ. Kid Rock enjoys a Bud Light? Oh, pussy. So apparently...
And he's about to have one after all the estrogen in that Bud Light.
Kid Rock was spotted at an event at the Sky Deck in Nashville Thursday night at Colt Ford's show, drinking Bud Light. So a lot of people are saying it's probably the only beer they had or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I guess the point of the story is this is a guy who opened fire on Bud Light, said "F you," who now I guess doesn't care all that much and is back on, you know, drinking it. Politics is down.
Because, like, at a certain point, like, most people stop giving a fuck. Like, I mean, it only really works, you know, if, like, you stay consistently, you know, principled on that, and most people don't give enough of a shit to, you know, stay consistent on an issue like that, even if it is something like Bud Light. I guarantee you, like, honestly, most conservatives, you know, were still drinking Bud Light, even if they were saying, oh, we're boycotting. Guarantee you they're still buying those 48 and 24 packs.
And the left has known this for years. That's why they heavily invest in Hollywood and music. That's why they ban, and, like, you got this big...
Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Hey, quit making it sound like we're more powerful than we are, dude.
Right now, rich men north of Richmond. The reason it's big is because regular people have the ability to share a song that resonates with them. What do we get from the corporate mainstream media? This weird woke garbage nonsense. You get Kim Petras and you get Sam Smith doing Satanism on stage. Then you get
awesome. Sounds fucking metal.
Guy in Appalachia singing about how they're screwing over the little guy, and regular people can push that and make it go viral.
Why not both? Be like, hey, let's worship Satan and fuck those rich people for fucking over the little guy. You know, why not do both? Fuck you. How about that?
Sure. Is what...
Would you face fuck Tim Pool? With a cactus. Yes. Not with my dick, but with a cactus.
Politics. If you make something culturally unacceptable, it just can't happen.
Now, I don't necessarily disagree. I think that culture does influence politics to an extent, but politics also influences culture. A shift in support for gay rights, yes, led to more civil rights for gay people, culturally, but on the other...
And thus led to more normalization of things that, you know, are queer and gay, culturally.
Same coin, I think that gay people actually winning the right to marry shifted the culture because it normalized their relationships with the public, and now support for marriage equality is higher than ever. So I think that it does go both ways, but having said that though, I am so thankful that Tim Pool brought up Oliver Anthony because he's at risk of being canceled as well. Now, for those unaware, Oliver Anthony is the country singer who went viral for his song Rich Men North of Richmond, and the song was hailed as a working class anthem because he talks about the struggle of the working man and how hard it is to pay the bills, which obviously is going to resonate with people, but it's also very right-wing coded and has multiple dog whistles and complaints about people who are living off of welfare. So, you know, how...
And basically unable to work and this and that because if you're 5'3", 300 pounds, then you might as well get off the welfare and on those fudge rounds and whatever the fuck.
Say that this is a working class anthem when people who are working full-time jobs still don't make enough to survive.
And are still also on, you know, like different, you know, subsidies and that welfare that you know, boasts about being bullshit, whatever the fuck, which is not pro-working class. Like, and yes, it is very heavily right-wing coded and dog whistling. I mean, it's basically neo-Confederate revivalism and also JQ interwoven into like this veneer of working class shit. Like, that's just a surface dressing to, you know, give more subtlety and more benefit of the doubt to the actual dog whistles in the song. Like, I mean, if anything, you know, the motherfucker knows what he's doing. I mean, because if anything, it's like the people that astroturfed him and lobbied him, basically.
to get welfare. So, I mean, that's a different discussion for a different day. But the reason why we're talking about him is because in his first interview since he went viral, well, he said something that is a little bit of a red flag to conservatives, and you're probably not going to notice why what he said is so problematic to them at first, but let's just watch and then I'll explain it when we come back.
What do you hope comes of the song in your music? I know you turned $8 million down. You did a great statement. You say you don't want jets, you don't want tour buses. What do you want?
Just people to start appreciating each other for human beings and look beyond political differences and ideologies and a lot of things that I see corporate media and education doing, which is making everyone identify each other's differences and not their similarities. I want people to appreciate each other and appreciate each other's struggles and hopefully just find the energy that was in this song and manifest it in people's own personal lives. And just trying to find similarities with each other instead of division. That's really all I want. I mean, I don't see...
I mean, he's really having a cop-out answer for this. I mean, it sounds so like, I'm just a centrist, bro. I just want people to come together, y'all. Like, it just sounds so fucking pussyfooty. Like, I mean, it just does not sound like a real, genuine answer.
Lasting more than another generation the way we're headed. We've got to go back to the roots of what made this country great in the first place, which was our sense of community and we are the melting pot of the world, and that's what makes us strong is our diversity. And we need to...
Ooh. What makes us strong is our diversity? Conservatives don't like that. I was kind of wondering where, like, is it because he was being pussyfooty? And nope, that's it right there. We're the melting pot of the world, and diversity is our strength. A lot of far-right conservatives don't like that. Wrong turn of phrase on Fox there, buddy. Oh my god, I can see why now he's, being like, what? I can see now why he's also lumped in with this too. Oop. Shouldn't have said that. I mean, I don't disagree with, like, what's kind of funny is, like, I don't really disagree with his pussyfooty answer, but it's just not a genuine answer of his. And I guess now, at this point, you kind of fucked up, because now you made a point that is actually a little more substantive and at least somewhat agreeable, still vague. Because, yeah, like, America is, see more as like the melting pot of the world, and yeah, diversity is our strength. Yeah, you're not wrong with that, but anyone who's conservative, especially right-wing tradcons, and traditional conservatives and stuff like that, like, yeah, they don't jibe with anything like that. They're against those ideas. E29 fascist neo-Confederates. Well, I mean, the idea of, like, coming together and stuff like that, that doesn't mean, unite people that are fundamentally, against that idea. Like, I mean, it's not like, tolerant of the intolerance paradox. It's, the sense of, like, rooting out intolerance so, people can truly come together. Because, of people, undermining that fundamental idea and principle in the first place. Which Oliver Anthony is somebody that is certainly more sugar-coated and more dogwistly and subtle about it, but he's a part of that problem.
Harness that and appreciate it, and not use it as a political tool to keep everyone separate from each other,
Now, to me, when I hear that, I just think this man sounds like a hypocrite, because here he is preaching unity after his song went viral, and in that song, he implied that people living off of welfare are fat and lazy. But I mean, if your complaint is about how rich people are exploiting the working class, then why would you punch down at fellow working class members and imply that they're fat and lazy, right?
Because for some reason they're part of the same problem, and those fat rich fucks on the top enable it, because then the real honest folk, get undermined even more, because of that. Or it's some weird stupid jargon like that. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not even correct, but nonetheless still what they believe.
You're waging class warfare on behalf of the wealthy that you're complaining about, right? So it doesn't really make sense. It's kind of incoherent, ideologically speaking. But to right-wingers, what he said, it hit a lot differently. So I think that he tried to say what they wanted him to say. So that's why about me
specifically? Yeah, which, not just that, but it's also whining about those North rich elites, or, north of Richmond of the Confederacy. And, and those rich elites, controlling everything, who happen to also, subtly, but never going to mention, at least in the song directly, Jewish people.
But he ended up fucking up the talking points that they typically use and ended up just sounding like a lib. So what he probably wanted to say, and this is all speculation, is that people who are fixating on systemic racism and identity politics, that's what's dividing people. It's the sort of argument against CRT that we hear from conservatives, where they'll complain that, CRT is divisive because you're fixating on the differences between white people and black people instead of our similarities, right? What about Martin Luther King's vow to have everyone treated the same? So that is a bad argument because even though we're all human beings and we're the same, our lived experiences are very different. But that's besides the point, right? He didn't say that. He didn't say that CRT and identity politics is dividing people. He instead said that diversity is good. We're a melting pot and diversity is our strength. Now, that is apparently controversial to the right. And this
which is fucking pathetic.
Twitter account explains why. Promoted algorithm-boosted, based Redbeard hillbilly song guy was faking his accent and says diversity is our strength. So that...
And that Twitter handle is literally black-pilled. Oh, God, dude. Oh, no. I can only imagine that motherfucker. I can only imagine some of the weird things that guy must, be posting. Ugh.
Problem. And it's apparently a problem because diversity is a threat to white people, according to white supremacist conservatives who have gained a lot of prominence.
What does black pill mean? Well, it broadly generally means, just full-on doomer. But, I mean, it's been kind of co-opted by a lot of the far-right fascists because it's, the idea that you're, so doomer of the whole, woke narrative that, the only real means of doing so is, to take it to the extreme. And kind of accelerate things, there's kind of a, this underbelly, kind of about it, when it comes to at least the right-wing side of things. Broadly, though, it just kind of generally means someone who's just fuck it all, but, I mean, and those type of, black-pilled types, tend to be more just, disappointed optimists. Yeah,
the rise of Donald Trump. And they always kind of resorted to dog whistles when they complained about diversity, right? But they've been much more explicit over the years and have since kind of moved away from dog whistles and are now just resorting to explicit racism, where they just straight up say, yeah, diversity is bad. Diversity is white genocide, which is inherently white supremacist. Now,
and just retarded and stupid and not even true and not even a thing.
To this person who complained about this guy was relatively mixed, but there were a lot of people who didn't like what he had to say there and wanted to cancel him because he simply said diversity is good. Again, I have to emphasize here, they're mad that he's not being explicitly racist, right? So here's some comments. Never buy into the hype right away. Always wait a little to see if it's legit. The CIA's Milli Vanilli. This one's
what?
Actually funny on ironic.
That is actually kind of funny. It's just a CIA plan. I mean, that's giving him way too much credit. That's giving Alder Anthony way too much credit. A CIA plant, dude. Oh my God, get out of here.
Now, others shared GIFs to express their disappointment. This person laughed at him using the word melting pot. This person says that they're out, and you get the point. All it took for some conservatives to cancel him was him simply vocalizing support for diversity. Very, very interesting world that we live in. And when I say interesting, I mean racist. Now, if Oliver Anthony learns about this and finds out that some conservatives were shocked to learn that he supports diversity, well, maybe he should re-examine the lyrics to his song and try to see why it might not appeal to everyone in the working class if you just go a little bit beneath the surface, right? Understand why they thought that he was on their team. But I mean, that's 2 cancellations in the same week, proving yet again that conservatives have always been the snowflakes, and they're the ones who are always hyper outraged about things that really normal people shouldn't get outraged about. And if you don't conform to their standards of what is and isn't anti-woke, you'll be excommunicated like that. But we'll have to
Which
see.
Honestly is just so fucking pathetic. I mean, it just kind of shows how much of the tribalized, just of the tribalized politics just, goes so deep with this shit. I mean, on the conservative wing especially. I mean, I know a lot, some people, who are, way more moderate tend to, give a benefit of the doubt, honestly, to that shit, but it's just man, the more and more they just have, this unhinged shit, and it's the more you can't deny it, you know what I mean? It's just an actual influential thing. It's there. I mean, And the idea to say that that's honestly not, like, you know, a major significant issue, you know, compared to their life, it's just, in my mind, just kind of silly. Can't believe TJ thought the song was okay, centrist even. I mean, honestly, it's because he didn't really, like, deep dive into who he was. He just heard the song, and that was, in the lyrics, that was basically it. He had a very surface level approach to it. Like, you know, because honestly, a lot of it was, you know, basically because, you know, with him being astroturfed and being kind of propped up by the GOP in some way, you know, like it, you know, like it you know, it obviously, you know, is designed to be like that. So if someone looks at it at a very surface level, you know, look at it, then, you know, they're not going to really, you know, totally see the more underlying, you know, subtleties about, you know, what really makes it a problem. I mean, like, I just think TJ didn't care enough to deep dive into it, which, honestly, to be fair, I agree. Lazy TJ. I mean, the thing is, like, I will say, though, at least broadly, you know, outside of the context of Oliver Anthony, like, with what he was talking about, though, like, I don't disagree with, but, like, I mean, you know, when you actually look at certain artists and shit, you gotta be like, okay, look, you know, this guy's bullshit. You know, like, you can recognize, you know, the broader idea about that, but also realize that some artists, and there are some people that use that idea purposely for nefarious reasons to undermine that whole bridge, basically. You know what I mean? Like, and Oliver Anthony is one of those type of dudes, where he uses it to undermine that type of Oliver branch, where that could actually have some genuine, like, positive, you know, potential. But, you know, not with him, though. You know, it's like, that's the thing. Like, I think, you know, what he was talking about, I agree with, and I think is, you know, meritable, but just in the context of Oliver Anthony, though, no, not with him. Aaron's get a few bruises, some weed. Well, I'm fine on the weed, but, yeah, I'll grab myself a couple brews. But also, I'm gonna grab myself some lunch and stuff, and at least see how Mama's doing. See what she's been up to. I'll come back a couple hours and see if we can react to that debate that's gonna be going on. We'll probably check it out when it's kind of done, or at least, you know, like, you know, over with for the most part, just so we can kind of, like, pause and stuff like that if we want, so, all that fun shit. Give Mom Nara a hug for me. I will. And tell your mom I said hellos. But anyway, of course, at least, you know, I'll go for now, but be back in a couple hours or something like that. So, anyway, peace out.